Let us continue with our lesson. And since we have already written a toTest method over here or a function over here, so there can be a multiple case that we want to test. Like this one is you are testing a valid email when a valid email is given and it should return true. So we can also have another condition over here. So I can just copy the whole thing instead of writing it, just paste it over here. And I can say I want to test a valid email function when invalid. I can say invalid email and it should return a false. False. So I can check for the another condition which I'm checking for the valid email function, which when I provide a invalid email, and that should return a false for us. So let's say if I give something like over here and just miss the instead of gmail.com, let me say that I remove the dot from here. This is an invalid email. Now I can pass that one, and expected is a false. Sorry, expected is a false over there. And similarly, I can do the same thing for this password over here. To test the password, just copy this one and just paste it over here. And when I want to test the valid password when invalid, right? When invalid password, return the false. It should return a false. Sorry, remove that one. And I give an invalid password over here, and this result should return a false. So I am expecting a false over here and pass the result over here. So now if you try to go and run all of your tests, just go over here and run all of the tests. That should go and test all of the function, and you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 test methods that have passed successfully. So there are multiple conditions that you can test for the same thing, like when you are providing a valid password and when you are providing an invalid password. So you can write multiple tests. So when you are testing, you should test each and every option available for testing, like whenever how it can occur the error or how it can cause a bug. You have to write a test method to test it and see whether the test can pass or not. So that's we have written total 4 test method to validate email as well as the password over here. And the next thing that I want to show you is that over here we can say this is a given condition. Sorry, it should be of a given condition, that a given email, and this is the when, and this one we can finally call it as a then. So it should be given a valid email, given a valid email address when what you want to do, when you call or when you call a validate, when you call a validate function which is of a validate email, right? When you call a validate function to validate email, sorry, VA. So given a valid email address, when you call a valid function, when you call a validate function, which is of this one, validate email, then what you are expecting, then we should, sorry, then we should get a true value over here. So when given a valid email address when you call a validate function to validate this particular email, then we should get a true value over here. So then we should get a true value. So given, when, then, the 3 things that we can take a look. So here we can do the same thing over here. If given, I can say invalid email. So given an invalid email, then here I can test for when you call a validate function And when you call a validate function, then what it should do is we should get a false value over here. Sorry, FALSC, false value over here. So given an invalid email address, when you call the validate function, like which is a validate email, then we should get a false value. So that is the another way that we can write a commenting over here to make for your fellow developer or your colleague to understand it more clearly. So reading this comment, they can clearly understand that giving a valid email address, when you call this particular function, then we should return a true value over here. We should get a true value over here. And when the particular your developer or your colleague read this one, you can see that given an invalid email, when you call a validate function, then it should return a false value. So that's the commenting way that you can do for your test method over here. So let's do it for all of these functions that we have over here. So here I have already added all of this. So given a valid password, when you call a validate function to validate this, and then we should get a true value. And here when given an invalid password, then you call this validate function, then it should get we should get a false value over here. So this is a good way of commenting your code for a test, so everybody can understand it clearly. So let's meet up in the next lecture. Till then, have a great day.